just for the train in the rain, just for the train to show up. And then the lady's like, no bikes on the train at all. And I was like, what? Yeah, because like Sweden's not a good place to bike tour, dude. I mean, you're always getting funneled into the highway. I was riding the highway most of the day, and like buses are honking at me, and I was like, whatever. Luckily, no cops found me. But yeah, man. And then they don't let bikes on the freaking train. So then I asked some bus driver, I'm like, yo, when's the bus going to the place? I mean, there was a bike shop in that little town, but I didn't think they would have a chain and a cassette. Not the cassette I wanted. I needed an 8-speed cassette, that was 13 by 29, and I didn't want to just buy a chain and then like fuck up my chain riding there fucked up on the old cassette, and I just wanted to go into Stockholm. So then I asked this other bus driver, this older guy named Peter. And he's like, oh yeah, well you stay with me tonight. I have an extra house, but hang out with me for 3 hours while I do my bus tour. So I just kind of stood up next to him, and he was talking to me the whole time for 3 hours as he did his whole route, his bus route. And he gave me his address. Hopefully I still have it. I put it on a piece of paper and I didn't write it into my computer. Silly me. Because old people get pissed if you don't write them when you tell them to, and when they tell you to. But anyways, yeah, so then he took me to his house, and his extra house, and I took a shower in his basement and stayed in his place. Then he got me up the next morning. He did all the research. He found out which bus to take, how much it was, so he drove me to the bus. But he did a tour of the whole town first, telling me about the town, his whole life story, and his Volvo, and really nice guy. And his wife was really cool too. They were both bus drivers. But yeah, they charged me extra for my bike. A lot extra to put it on the bus. So then I took the bus ride. It was exactly about was the length of a movie, because I saw Mr. Bean on vacation with that fucking hot ass girl, Emma DeCons. Jesus, she's hot. And then got into Stockholm, yeah, changed out my money, and then did Stockholm that day, riding all over. Stockholm is beautiful. I have the video of it. Extremely beautiful. There's like, I think it's like, some chick told me it was like the third biggest lake in Sweden. And then there's the ocean. And Stockholm is kind of like where they meet. So Stockholm is basically built on like all these islands that are connected by bridges. It's kind of like Bermuda. It's like you're always on an island. And the central historic capital is on a really little island. Tiny little island where they put like the castle. But like, well, I didn't see a castle. It was like a palace, but it was a really beautiful, historical downtown area with really narrow cobblestone streets and just fuckloads of tourists, and beautiful place. And I hung out there. So then I hung out the whole next day, because my thing is when I go to a capital city, I have to hang out an entire day, where I had camped out in the town, and then I have the whole day there, and then I camp out in the town again. And I ride all over town. Although I didn't get the chance to check out the whole town and film the whole town, because it's just so much to see. There's so many parks, so many just cool things to get lost in, that I mean, that's one of the cities you need like a week to know. Copenhagen, I think, was pretty much the same way, although less so. And Amsterdam is big time like that. But anyways, I saw a bunch of movies there, though. I was kind of getting in the habit of watching movies, even though they're really expensive. Sometimes at the end of a trip, even if you don't have money, you kind of tend to spend a lot of it just because you're going home. I was kind of in that mindset a little bit. That's why I was watching movies, even though I was camping. It's legal to camp in Scandinavia. And so I wasn't hiding when I camped. I camped in obvious places because it's legal. And everybody knows it. Because I'd mention to people, yeah, it's legal, right? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, it's called everyman's law. Everyman's law means you can camp anywhere you want. Every man, anywhere. It's free. Scandinavia is awesome. But, but you have to be respectful and stuff. But anyways, yeah, so I went on the town. I went to the edge of some, like, apartment blocks on the edge of town. Walked a couple hundred yards into the forest and camped on a trail. And I knew I was camping on a trail because it was dark. It was after the movie midnight. I didn't want to, like, go into the swamp or whatever. And the trail was a nice flat place, so I camped right on the trail. And so yeah, when I got up, there were like people walking by me and stuff. Gotta love Scandinavia. So then I took the subway out because Stockholm was just a confusing ass place, and I didn't want to get lost in that. I just wasn't in the mood. So I took the subway out. Only problem is I passed out on the subway, and it hit the end, and then went all the way back in town. So then I had to take it all out again, but it didn't go out as far as the first one because it was later. So I was like 20 kilometers that I shortchanged myself. I could have gotten 20 kilometers farther if I had gotten out when I did, but anyways, whatever. I was out there to ride. So then I got off the thing and I camped in the trees right on the edge of town. And then I rode there. And then I think it was 3 days. This was just on the outside of Stockholm where I went on the subway. But then I rode, it was 3 days. Rode one day, camped like in a median between the highway, and then rode the other day. And I was getting lost a lot because like it's just harder for me to navigate through Stockholm or Sweden. At least, and Finland too. At least in the southern part where it's more populated because there's just more roads. And in the north it's so easy because it's like America. It's like there's your road and go. But anyways, 3 days, and then I camped out like in one of the medians again, right next to the sea, and then I took the boat across into Denmark, which is just by sight. You could swim across it. Took the boat across, and I was in Denmark, and then I go and rode my bike into Copenhagen. There is this guy I met in the called I can't remember his name, at the Rainbow Gathering, who invited me. He was like the only other naked guy. Invited me to stay at his place and do drugs and everything, eat mushrooms and stuff. And I even wrote him, and I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he wrote me back. He's like, yeah, dude, come on over, man, yay. But like, he lived kind of a little bit outside of Copenhagen, and by then I kind of wanted to rush. I wanted to rush to get to Amsterdam and check out Amsterdam, so I kind of changed my mind and just decided not to visit him. It would have been fun. But we went over to, Copenhagen. And I decided to go to Copenhagen because you can buy weed. Copenhagen's like Amsterdam. You can buy weed on the street. There's this place called Christiana. And, I went into Copenhagen and I went to the hostel because it'd been a long time, like 6 days or something, since I had wash my clothes, and I wanted to wash my clothes. And a hostel's a good place to do that because I can shower and wash my clothes at the same time. Have like a half hour, 40-minute long shower while I'm doing my laundry, and it's nasty, but it gets everything clean. You can see all the dirt and stuff come out of it. And so I did that. €33. But I got a free beer out of it. And it was a cool hostel. Hugest hostel you've ever seen. It was like a 20-story building. It was one of the biggest skyscrapers in the entire city, and that was the hostel. On the top it said, Dan's Hostel, or something like that. Crazy. So anyways, then I camped like right next to downtown in this grass. Like right next to downtown in Copenhagen. Is really awesome. Copenhagen's awesome. Bikes everywhere, just like Amsterdam. Bicycle paths, bicycles everywhere. Maybe even more than Amsterdam. Right on the sea. Big river going through. Well, not a river, flowing river, but kind of river going through. And then this other big boxed in big huge ass pools, kind of look like rivers on the other part. I didn't really have the time to look at so much. But I camped in right next to a trail where all these people walking and biking through, but nobody could see me because the grass was 5 feet high. So I just pushed my bike through and then camped down, and it's like, nobody sees me. I'm in the grass. So that was cool. And I think I saw a movie there. Yeah, I did see a movie. Yeah, because I got up and that day that night I bought weed over at Christiana. You go to this town. Right in downtown is this section called Christiana in Copenhagen. You go in through the gate into the neighborhood. Boom, you're in this other world, man. It's like hippies everywhere. People selling stuff and the trinkets and the little kiosks outside. Everybody smoking outside, music. And then you see all these people just with hash, marijuana on tables everywhere. And she's just like, yeah, I want that. I'll have that. So I got weed. And then this guy invited me to hang out with him there the next day. And I smoked weed, and he told me all about it. This Danish dude, he was like, oh yeah, but it's illegal. They have to, when the cops come, they just have to like pick up their weed. They pick up, the tablecloth that the weed is on, and they throw it on the roofs, and they're just like, and I guess sometimes cops in plain clothes come, but everybody knows that they're cops somehow, and so they're like, they like beat them up and push them out, when the cops in plain clothes show up. But I went there and I tried to buy weed one day. I bought weed from this chick, and she's like, and I'm like, yeah, how much for a gram? And she's like, 80, but for you, I'll give it to 50. So I was like, all right. So then the next day I got more weed because I lost my weed. And I just specifically went to her because I was under the impression that she was giving me the deal. So I go back and I want to get weed, and she's like, oh yeah, but put your bike over there. Like I couldn't bring my bike. And the guy next to her is like, yeah, dude, you have to do that because if the cops come, you have to scatter too, to get the shit away, hidden and stuff. But but anyway, I hung out with that guy that day, and it was fun. Telling me all about that. And I did the tour of Copenhagen, but Copenhagen's I didn't see it as much as I wanted to. But I was stoned, and when you're stoned, you kind of take too long and you get lost, and you're just like, because I hadn't been stoned for a long time. And they had this really cool like church that you walk around the outside on the spiral. It was like so exposed. It was crazy. It was really cool. Then I rode my bike from Copenhagen down. But I lost my map. Fucking pity, because it was my map. It was my map that I used all the trip, all of Europe. One map, my entire bike tour. But it fell out. It bounced off of my pack when I was stoned, and I didn't notice. See, that's one reason why I don't like to be a stoner, is because as soon as I start smoking, I start losing shit. So I didn't have a map. So I had to like ask people and guess, and that wasn't so fun. But I finally made it to the bottom tip of, I went, across that island, Copenhagen's island, then I crossed the bridge to the other island, and then, so I never got to the mainland part of Denmark. And then I took the train that night, or the boat that night, into some other island in Germany. But on the boat, I noticed that my rack had cracked. So I camped in Germany in this town, and I asked this dude, like, when's the bike shop open? So I camped in the town. This was my most exposed campsite I'd ever done. And it was stupid in retrospect. I should not have done that. Because it's not legal to camp out in Germany. It's not Scandinavia. I camped out like right on the side of the trail, like right under the bike path. Like every time a biker or walker goes, they look down and they can see me right there next to the field. So I got up early, and then I got into town, and I was doing internet. Luckily, they had internet in the some bakery, which is really lucky because internet in Germany is extremely hard to come by. Because like McDonald's all over Europe, internet's free, except Germany. So as soon as I got to Germany, I was like, "Ciao, McDonald's. Sorry, no more McDonald's." So then I went to the bike shop. I got the screws, and I fixed my bike rack, and I'm riding my bike down, but like the screw, my bike rack was cracking, and it was like falling down, and like really loose, like that close to my wheel. And then my right shifter cable broke. So I had 2 gears. It was on the smallest cog in the back. And then, I had the choice from my big chainring in the front to do my riding. But it worked okay. I managed to ride, I don't know how many miles it was because my computer wasn't working, but I think I rode from there into Hamburg. And then I camped out on the edge of Hamburg. In Hamburg, but I hung out in Hamburg at night, checked out the nightlife. They have this like big lake in the middle of Hamburg, and then like all around the edges of it, it's 1 hour 17 minutes. What? Have I been talking that long? Okay, I'm confused. Anyways, there were all these like disco area, played really loud music right on the edge of the lake and the kind of outside, and then like all these people selling stuff and beer and food and the outside. I wish I'd known about that before because I'd had dinner before that. But then I went out and I camped like in some like right in town in some like tree area in a park. When I didn't notice I was right next to the park when I got. got up and then I rode into town, and then like my